They said a farm boy could never change the world. You won't believe this, but the man behind America's most beloved chocolate empire started with nothing, no money, no formal education, and no safety net. The truth revealed, his first two businesses failed so badly, people told him to quit forever. No one saw it coming, but that humiliation became the fuel for one of the greatest business comebacks in history. From dusty Pennsylvania fields to a factory that would sweeten the lives of millions, Milton Hershey's journey was anything but smooth. It almost didn't work more than once, but every setback carried a hidden lesson. What no one tells you is that the Hershey bar you unwrap today isn't just chocolate, it's the result of grit, rejection, and a gamble so risky it could have ended everything. And if you've ever been told you're dreaming too big, this story might just change everything for you. So buckle up, because once you hear what really happened, you'll never look at a simple piece of chocolate the same way again. Topic 1. Humble beginnings on a Pennsylvania for Milton Hershey was born in 1857 on a quiet stretch of rural Pennsylvania, surrounded by rolling fields and the rhythm of farm life. His family wasn't wealthy, far from it. They scraped by, often unsure if the next season's crops would cover the bills. You won't believe this, but the same boy who would one day create an empire of sweetness first learned life's harshest lessons in the mud, sweat, and uncertainty of a struggling farm. Even then, survival wasn't just about food, it was about grit. He moved frequently as a child, following his parents' restless search for stability. No one saw it coming, but these constant disruptions became a hidden lesson in adaptability. When you're packing up your life every few months, you either break or you learn to adjust to whatever comes next. That adaptability would one day help him navigate business failures that could have ended his dream before it began. Formal education was scarce. Milton attended school irregularly, sometimes only for a few months before being pulled out to help on the farm. The truth revealed. Here is that success doesn't always sprout from perfect report cards, it often comes from learning in the trenches. For Milton, his classroom was the barn, the fields, and the market, where he learned how people really think, trade, and survive. From dawn till dusk, he shoveled, planted, harvested, and hauled. These weren't just chores, they were the foundation of a work ethic that would shape everything he touched. What no one tells you is that farm work teaches you something no textbook can. When the weather turns, you don't complain, you adjust the plan. It's a mindset every entrepreneur should steal. He also discovered the value of community. On the farm, neighbors depended on each other, sharing tools, labor, and sometimes food. Milton absorbed this unspoken rule: people matter more than profit. It almost didn't work out that way in his business years, but this early seed of community would one day grow into an entire town built for his workers. And yet, behind the rustic charm of farm life, there was tension. His father, a dreamer who chased one scheme after another, was rarely home. His mother, more grounded, bore the weight of keeping the family afloat. This tug of war between fantasy and discipline would leave a mark on Milton. He learned from both his father's vision, his mother's resilience, and somewhere deep inside, a spark began to form. A spark that would push him toward a craft that was, at that time, far removed from the dusty rows of corn and hay. Topic 2. Early failures in the candy business. By his teenage years, Milton had traded farm chores for an apprenticeship at a small candy shop in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The air was thick with the scent of caramelizing sugar, and he was hooked. You won't believe this, but his first taste of the confectionery world wasn't just sweet, it was intoxicating. He studied every step, from boiling syrups to molding candies, absorbing the craft like it was second nature. After learning the ropes, Milton took a leap that most people would consider reckless. With a small stash of savings and more ambition than experience, he opened his first candy business in Philadelphia. The truth revealed, it was a disaster. Sales trickled in, bills piled up, and within months, he was forced to close the doors. Undeterred, he tried again, this time in New York City, thinking the big market would be his golden ticket. But no one saw it coming. History repeated itself. Competition was fierce, Costs were high, and his dream crumbled a second time. It almost didn't work out for Milton at all. To failures like that can break a man's spirit for good. For most people, that would have been the end of the story. What no one tells you is that failure often comes in pairs or even triplets before success shows up. The hidden lesson here: every crash and burn attempt teaches you something you can't learn in comfort. For Milton, it was about location, product quality, and the brutal math of running a business. And here's something worth applying. If you're starting out, test your idea small before scaling. Sell at local markets, get feedback, and refine your product before taking on major costs. Milton didn't have that wisdom yet, but his failures were giving him a crash course in it. Still, each failure left a deeper scar. He was broke, humiliated, and unsure if he'd ever try again. But deep down, there was that stubborn farm boy who knew how to push through bad seasons. And in the quiet after his second failure, he made a decision, one that would take him back to his roots and into a confrontation that would change everything. Topic 3: Rejection and humiliation. In 1881, Milton returned to his hometown with nothing but a battered suitcase and a bruised ego. To failed businesses behind him, empty pockets in front of him. You won't believe this, but he was still clinging to the hope of starting over. His plan was simple: swallow his pride, approach his uncles, and ask for the financial help to try again. He walked into their home expecting at least a little compassion. Instead, he got the truth revealed in its rawest form. They didn't believe in him. They didn't just say no, they told him flat out to give up, to find real work, to abandon his foolish candy-making dream. No one saw it coming, but their words cut deeper than the sting of bankruptcy. For Milton, it almost didn't work out from that moment on. Rejection from strangers is one thing, but rejection from family, that's the kind of humiliation that can crush a person. And yet, buried inside that sting was a hidden lesson. When no one else believes in you, you have to double down on believing in yourself. It was a crossroads. He could have let their words define him, could have walked away from the candy world forever, but what no one tells you is that rejection can be fuel. Every insult, every dismissive laugh, it became kindling for a fire he couldn't put out. Here's the part worth remembering: the next time someone tells you your idea will never work, don't argue, prove them wrong, quietly, persistently, and with results. That's exactly what Milton set out to do. Their disbelief became his silent motivator, the push he needed to sharpen his skills and search for his breakthrough. He left that house humiliated, yes, but also electrified. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this wasn't the end. If anything, it was the moment the story really began. And soon, that same foolish dream would transform into a product so good, the whole country would know his name. Topic 4: Building the Lancaster Caramel Company. By the late 1880s, Milton had sharpened his skills enough to make a comeback. This time, he focused on something different: caramel. You won't believe this, but at the time, caramel wasn't the flashy candy we think of today. Most producers used cheap ingredients, but Milton saw a hidden lesson in quality. If you make something better than anyone else, people will notice. He began experimenting with fresh milk in his recipes, a move that would set him apart from the competition. Armed with determination and this unique twist, he launched the Lancaster Caramel Company. It almost didn't work at first. Sales were slow, and he was still rebuilding his reputation, but little by little, orders grew. The truth revealed here is that patience is just as important as innovation. Great products need time to find their audience. Before long, word spread beyond Pennsylvania. Merchants in other states began placing large orders, and Milton's caramels started traveling further than he ever had. No one saw it coming, but this small-town operation was about to explode into a national sensation. His secret behind it? Consistency. Every single piece of caramel tasted exactly the same, no matter where it was shipped. And here's a takeaway you can apply. In business, your brand is built on repeat experiences. If someone loves your product once, they expect to love it every single time. Whether it's coffee, clothes, or software, deliver the same quality every time, and you'll create loyalty. Milton understood this instinctively. The Lancaster Caramel Company became profitable enough to give Milton something he'd never had before: financial breathing room. This wasn't just survival anymore, this was a foundation. He was learning to manage not just production, but people, contracts, and expansion. Yet, even in the middle of his caramel success, Milton's mind was drifting towards something else, something sweeter, richer, and far more ambitious. A chance encounter was about to plant the seed for a product that could eclipse his beloved caramels entirely. Topic 5. Discovering the potential of chocolatine. 1893, Milton Hershey attended the Chicago World's Fair, a sprawling spectacle of innovation, invention, and ideas from around the globe. You won't believe this, but among the towering machines and dazzling displays, it was a modest corner filled with German chocolate-making equipment that stopped him in his tracks. The scent alone was intoxicating. He watched the machines churn, grind, and refine cocoa into something smooth and irresistible, and in that moment, something clicked. Up to that point, chocolate was a luxury for the elite. It was expensive, delicate to produce, and out of reach for most families. But Milton saw the truth revealed. If he could master the process and make milk chocolate affordable, he wouldn't just be selling candy, he'd be changing an entire market. No one saw it coming, but the man known for caramel was about to set his sights on something much bigger. He purchased the German machinery on the spot and had it shipped back to Lancaster. It almost didn't work. The equipment was complex, temperamental, and unlike anything he'd used before. But Milton was relentless, experimenting day and night to perfect the blend of cocoa, sugar, and fresh milk. This wasn't just trial and error, it was obsession. Here's a key lesson: when you spot an opportunity that could redefine your field, don't hesitate. But also, don't underestimate the learning curve. Milton could have let the difficulty discourage him, but instead, he treated each setback as a hidden lesson in mastering a new craft. Slowly, he began producing small batches of chocolate alongside his caramels. Customers loved it, but to Milton, this was just the beginning. He knew chocolate could be more than an add-on, it could be the main act. And as the orders grew, a bold thought began to form. What if he sold his caramel company entirely so he could devote himself to chocolate full-time? A risky move, one that could erase everything he had built. It deep down, Milton sensed this was the move that could change everything. Topic 6. Selling caramel to focus on chocolate. By 1900, Milton had reached a crossroads. His Lancaster Caramel Company was thriving, but his heart was no longer in caramel. You won't believe this, but he was willing to walk away from the business that had made him rich, all for a bet on chocolate, a product still unproven in the mass market. No one saw it coming, but that decision would define the rest of his life. When a British confectionery firm offered to buy his caramel company for $1 million, a fortune at the time, Milton didn't hesitate. The truth revealed, he wasn't selling out. He was buying freedom. That money wasn't for retirement. It was ammunition for his next, much bigger move. With the sale complete, Milton poured his energy and fortune into the Hershey Chocolate Company. It almost didn't work. Perfecting milk chocolate for mass production was still a maddening challenge. Every ingredient had to be precise, every process exact, and the machinery had to run like clockwork. But Milton's relentless tinkering paid off. Here's something you can apply. Sometimes, you have to let go of a good thing to chase the great thing. It's risky, yes, but staying in your comfort zone can quietly kill your biggest opportunities. Just like Milton, you might have to cash out of what's working to fund what could work even better. By late 1900, Milton had a recipe that hit the sweet spot literally. Smooth, creamy, affordable milk chocolate that tasted the same every time. It wasn't just delicious, it was revolutionary. And yet, Milton's vision didn't stop at making chocolate bars. He was already imagining something far more ambitious, a place where his workers could live, thrive, and feel proud to be part of the Hershey story. Topic 7. Building Hershey, Pennsylvania. Milton Hershey didn't just want to make chocolate, he wanted to make a difference. You won't believe this, but in an era when factory towns were often grim, cramped, and exploitative, Milton envisioned something entirely different. No one saw it coming, but he dreamed of creating a place where workers weren't just cogs in a machine, but valued members of a thriving community. On open farmland near his factory, he began building Hershey, Pennsylvania. The truth revealed. This wasn't a charity project, it was a strategic, human-centered vision. Happy, healthy workers made better products, and Milton knew that investing in people would pay dividends for decades. The town included tidy homes with porches, tree-lined streets, schools, parks, and even a trolley system. It almost didn't work at first. Critics said he was wasting money, that his generosity would be exploited. But Milton ignored them, sticking to the hidden lesson he'd learned on the farm. Community strengthens everyone. Here's an application. For today, whether you run a business or work in one, the environment you create matters. A positive culture isn't fluff, it's fuel. Like Milton, think about what your team needs to thrive, not just survive. Hershey also built recreational facilities, including a community center, a pool, and an amusement park. It wasn't just about work, it was about life. He wanted families to feel rooted, to know they were part of something bigger than a paycheck. And yet, as idyllic as the town seemed, storms were brewing on the horizon. The next chapters of Milton's story would test not just his business, but the very community he'd built, pushing both to the brink during some of America's toughest times. Topic 8. Surviving Challenges and Economic Turmoil. 20th century didn't go easy on anyone, and Milton Hershey's empire was no exception. You won't believe this, but his chocolate company weathered some of the most brutal events in modern history: World War I, the Great Depression, and World War II without crumbling. No one saw it coming, but through it all, Hershey's didn't just survive. It adapted and, in some cases, even thrived. During World War I, Milton responded to the government's call for supplies by producing a special chocolate bar for soldiers, a compact, high-energy ration that could withstand heat and rough conditions. The truth revealed? It wasn't a profitable move, but it was a patriotic one, and it cemented Hershey's image as an American staple. Then came the Great Depression. Factories across the country were closing, but Milton refused to lay off his workers. It almost didn't work. Keeping everyone employed meant tightening budgets and innovating constantly. Yet that decision preserved loyalty and morale, proving the hidden lesson that people remember how you treat them when times are hard. World War II brought another challenge. Hershey's was commissioned to create the D-ration bar for troops, a high-calorie, non-melting chocolate that soldiers could carry anywhere. By the end of the war, more than 1 billion bars had been shipped overseas. What no one tells you is that these bars weren't just food, they were pieces of home for soldiers. Far from it. And here's an application. In business, think long-term. Sacrificing short-term profit for long-term trust can turn customers into lifelong supporters. Milton understood that better than most. By the time peace returned, Hershey's wasn't just a brand, it was woven into the fabric of American life. But for Milton, the real victory wasn't the sales, it was knowing the company and community had endured storms together. Still, one final chapter of his life would solidify his name in history, ensuring his legacy lived on far beyond his own lifetime. Topic 9. Legacy and Global Impact. The time Milton Hershey passed away in 1945, his name had already become synonymous with chocolate. You won't believe this, but the farm boy from rural Pennsylvania had built the largest chocolate manufacturer in North America and one of the most recognized brands in the world. No one saw it coming when he started boiling sugar in a tiny shop, yet his vision had reached far beyond his own lifetime. The truth revealed? Milton didn't just leave behind a company, he left behind a philosophy. His belief in quality, accessibility, and community turned Hershey's into more than a product. It became a symbol of comfort, joy, and togetherness for millions. From Halloween trick-or-treat bags to holiday celebrations, Hershey's was there, woven into the moments that defined people's lives. Today, Hershey's products are sold in over 60 countries, and the town he built continues to thrive. It almost didn't work at times, especially during global economic shifts, but the foundation Milton laid was unshakable. His decision to reinvest in people rather than just profits kept the brand resilient. Here's something worth applying. Success isn't only measured by revenue, it's measured by the positive, lasting impact you leave behind. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, or raising a family, think about the legacy you want to create. Milton's wasn't just about chocolate, it was about opportunity and hope. Perhaps his greatest hidden lesson was this: wealth has its highest purpose when it's used to create something that outlives you. That's why he left his entire fortune to the Hershey Trust, funding schools and programs for disadvantaged children, a move that still changes lives today. And so the story of Milton Hershey isn't just about candy. It's about grit, vision, and an unshakable belief that even the most humble beginnings can lead to extraordinary impact. But as sweet as his success was, the real magic lies in what it inspires us to do next. So now, you know what really happened. A boy born on a struggling Pennsylvania farm, told to give up, humiliated by family, crushed by failure, not only built a chocolate empire, but an entire community that still thrives today. You won't believe this, but every single setback Milton Hershey faced could have ended his story right there. And yet, he turned each one into fuel. The truth revealed? Success isn't about never falling, it's about refusing to stay down. What no one tells you is that your biggest advantage might be the very obstacles you're facing right now, the hidden lesson. If you use your failures as stepping stones, they can lead you somewhere far greater than you ever imagined. Now, here's my question to you. What's your Hershey moment? What dream are you willing to protect, even when no one else believes in it? Because it almost didn't work for Milton, but it did, and the world is sweeter because of it. Learn from this mistake that so many people make: quitting too soon. Take the risk, bet on yourself, and when the world says you can't, smile and do it anyway. If this story lit a spark in you, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay with us. There are more stories, shocking stories that will challenge what you believe about success and maybe change your life.